folks? We got Jefferson White here. You know him as Jimmy from Yellowstone, the hit show, record-breaking show, fan frenzy, spotlight on the ranching community. Jefferson, I wanted to ask you to kick this off. What has this whirlwind of Yellowstone been like for you, kind of to see the growth and where it's at today?
First of all, thank you guys so much for having me. Honestly, the growth of the show, the sort of audience the show has found has been such a gift because it means we get to keep doing it. It means I get to do stuff like this. Basically, my life right now, I owe it to Yellowstone, and to the huge success of the show. It means I get to go around doing cool stuff and hanging out with cool people and getting to know this whole world and culture that's very new to me. So I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who watches the show. I'm incredibly grateful to this whole community because basically you're keeping me employed a little bit longer at least.
Do people call you Jimmy now? Like wherever you go? Are you like, oh, hey, you're Jimmy?
Yeah.
You're Jimmy.
Oh yeah. I get a lot of shut the fuck up, Jimmy, from like across the street. I'll be walking down the street in Texas and I'll just hear, shut the fuck up, Jimmy. Sort of give a thumbs up and keep going.
I love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you're also going to be the new host of the Yellowstone Companion podcast, talking to the different actors, going to have people from the 1883 spinoff on there. How excited are you to kind of be the voice of Yellowstone, kind of the ambassador of the show to the masses?
It's been an incredible honor. I mean, I really, when I started doing this show 4 years ago, I didn't really know anything about the Western world. I didn't know anything about cattle ranching, about cowboying, about rodeo, about any of this stuff. And so the last 4 years has been a real crash course for me. And sort of alongside Jimmy, as Jimmy kind of figures out where he fits in this world, I've been, diving in myself and sort of spending this time just trying to learn, basically. And so the podcast, more than anything, has been an opportunity to deepen that learning, to continue to sort of dive into this culture and this community, especially because, this is a lifelong pursuit. Cowboying, rodeo, ranching, these are lifelong endeavors. It's not something you can learn in 4 years. It's not something you can learn in 10 years. If you talk to a lot of these guys who've been doing it their whole lives, they'd tell you, it's not something you can learn in 35 years, 40 years. And so every opportunity I get to learn, every opportunity I get a tremendous gift. And then also I'm 8 or 9 years into my journey as an actor, and the opportunity to talk to Cole Hauser, to Kelly Riley, to Luke Grimes, to Mo Brings-Plenty, these actors, who I have such tremendous respect for, who I've been learning from as an actor for 4 years, the opportunity to really dig in deep and learn about the work that they do on the show, that's been its own incredible gift, So for me, the whole thing has been just a real learning experience. And I'm incredibly grateful for it.
You mentioned Cole Hauser. We did a funny article here a little while ago, maybe last year, where I happened to see like on a TBS rerun, it was The Breakup was on, I believe. And he's the bad wingman with Vince Vaughn in the club. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's Rip. And then I wrote an article about him. People kind of like lost their minds because a lot of people like see Rip now. And we did a funny meme about Wes did here about front of the Christmas tree, back of the Christmas tree with Dazed and Confused. His transformation has been crazy. And there's been a lot of funny stuff about like grow a beard, gain some weight, put a cowboy hat on, and boom, you're ready to go. Like, how has he been kind of turning into that character if you've known him outside of it? Because it seems like he's really taking that on as Rip.
Yeah, I think you're totally right that it is both a transformation and also, in acting, it's like there's sort of a constant question of, are you transforming into this character or are you revealing some part of yourself that is this character, And the amazing thing, I've only known Cole through the process of working on Yellowstone. So for me, as long as I've known Cole, he's been Rip. And on and off set, Cole is somebody that I have learned so much from, somebody who I have so much respect for, somebody who has been so patient and gracious with me as a leader and as a teacher, in the same way that Jimmy is learning from Rip and sort of trying to sort of follow in Rip's footsteps. I feel exactly the same way about Cole. I admire the work that he does so much. And as a leader and as a sort of teacher, he's incomparable. So for me, Cole has always been Rip. That transformation is pretty complete. And then, so when I see these other roles, images of other roles he's done, I think that really speaks to his ability as an actor, that he can so fully occupy all of these different worlds. It's hard to imagine Rip without Cole, and that's the same can be said for so many other characters he's played in his life. And that's transformation. That's an incredible actor. That's a real gift to be synonymous with so many different, seemingly incompatible things.
Well, even with Kelly, it's like her character of Beth is so like dynamic and tough as nails. And I've heard her kind of talk about in like various Paramount bonus content, how she's like a very like sweet, kind of soft spoken person by nature. So it's such like a dichotomy of persons to really find a way to tap into that. Is that something that you feel like you've had to do with Jimmy, where you've really had to like tap into something else, or did it more kind of come as a natural fit to you?
I think this is the skill of casting to a certain extent. I think that in finding Kelly and Cole, or bringing in Kelly and Cole, Taylor found two actors who are capable of transforming into these forces of nature, these kind of characters who are both so, and the gift that both of those actors have is to be able to simultaneously embody some of the like mythic archetypal qualities of those characters. Beth is like a fucking force of nature. She's a tornado. Rip is like a brick wall. He's like a fucking bull. He's like he's a natural disaster sort of coming to your house. And at the same time, both of those actors have the incredible gift of the small, human, everyday, very simple moments, and I think that's part of what people respond to when they see Rip and Beth's relationship is, oh, wow, this complete other side of these characters having these quiet, intimate, small moments on the opposite side of the spectrum from the moments when they're, tearing down buildings and burning down forests with the force of their will. And so for Jimmy, the gift of casting is, to a certain extent, I think they found someone who really kind of is on the same journey as Jimmy. Jimmy's new to the ranch. He grew up around this stuff, but didn't grow up in it. He sort of has respect for it and sort of mythologizes it. He's known who John Dutton is since he was a kid, but he's never met him. Like this all kind of also applies to me coming into this world. Jimmy's relationship to John Dutton is so similar to my relationship to Kevin Costner. He's a legend. Every moment I spend with him, I'm both terrified and sort of in awe and trying to learn. And all of this stuff, I'm lucky that Jimmy didn't have to start out a good rider. I had never touched a horse in my life before we started working on the show. So when Jimmy's getting bounced around in the saddle in season 1, that's just real. It's all just real to a certain extent. Me sort of trying really hard to catch up, to learn from Rip, from Lloyd, from John Dutton. That's all quite authentic, to a certain extent. My trajectory and Jimmy's line up very neatly. And part of what I think of my work as an actor is to find where we align, to find where we line up, to find what in Jimmy resonates in me and what in me is part of Jimmy, because you can't help but be yourself even as you're the character. I couldn't not be Jeff if I tried. And I've tried really hard, but I can't help it. I can't help but be myself,
Yeah. And speaking of your journey, I'm originally from Indiana, so you're from Iowa. So I really know what Iowa's like, because it's very similar in a lot of ways to Indiana. Then you live in Brooklyn, but then the filming of the show, when it comes to nature, one of the most beautiful places in America, the scenery, just watching the show hooked a lot of people from the first season. What was that like for you to go to a place like that, to be able to film there? Does it just become a part of you? Because I felt moving to Colorado, like you quickly become immersed in nature. It just like kind of changes you for the better. You can't help it, can't fight it. It just kind of gets at you. What was that like for you?
You're totally right. And the word you use, immersed, that is like a huge part of the experience of working on Yellowstone, is the immersion. We're so, the ranch we work on in the show is basically a real ranch up in, Western Montana, surrounded by beautiful mountains, surrounded by some of the most beautiful country I've ever seen. And that can't help but inform your performance. It sinks into your bones. You're not on a soundstage in Los Angeles pretending you're in Montana. You're really in Montana. And so to a certain extent, you can't help but breathe that air, walk on that dirt. And that all sort of trickles into the performance in a million small ways. When we're pretending it's cold, it's usually really fucking cold. When we're pretending it's hot out, it's usually pretty fucking warm, And I think that, part of the show, part of what resonates with me for the show is the simultaneous sort of, as we were talking about with Kelly and Cole, who can embody both these mythic qualities and these kind of everyday, small, intimate qualities at the same time. That also characterizes the West to me. There's the myth of the West. There's the legend. There's the, cowboys, Westerns, big sky, big mountains. And then there's the sort of daily reality of it. There's the kind of brutality and simple sort of human things on a small scale, And so being in Montana represents both of those sides of the coin. It's both beautiful and mythic and sort of legendary, but it's also difficult and punishing and sort of brutal in a lot of ways.
When you were cooking meth, in the beginning of the season prior to being a cowboy, so it kind of shows like two different sides of like life in, small town Montana.
Yeah. And Taylor, I think is very honest. I think he's nothing if not honest. He'll show you the pretty stuff. He'll show you something beautiful. He'll show you what it's like to be a millionaire in Montana. And then he'll show you what it's like on the other side. Like from the very beginning, Casey and Monica's house on the reservation, the brutality of life on the reservation, how difficult that can be for these people who have been so thoroughly disenfranchised, so thoroughly sort of cut out of the plenty. He shows you both sides of that coin. And I think that also really comes up very compellingly in season 4 with the conflict between John Dutton and Jamie's biological father, right? It's two sides of the same coin. Here's what life is like in the lap of comfort in the most beautiful place in the world. And here's what it's like when you don't have enough in the most beautiful place in the world. Here's what it's like in the prison system. Here's what it's like in the reservation. Here's what it's like for people who have suffered the consequences on the other side of the coin,
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you quickly about Walker or Ryan Bingham. Obviously, we're a country music outdoors lifestyle brand and website. We're huge fans of Ryan Bingham. He's one of our absolute favorite artists. Anytime we post about him, people go nuts. He's obviously played on the show. His music's played on the show as well. And when you guys are just sitting around, maybe not filming, does he ever just pull the guitar out and just blow everybody away with his talent? Or is it pretty kind of reserved about that?
He does in a reserved and modest way,
Yeah.
I mean, he's an artist who I respect so much because he's always in process. He's always figuring something out. He's always growing and learning. He's done rodeo since he was a kid. He's been a musician since he was quite young. He's lived in this world his whole life and he's still learning. He's still sort of learning and growing. And the environment that creates on set, this kind of constant process, this constant sort of creative effort to improve, to learn, to grow, trickles into all of us, So having Ryan around doing that work, talk about mythic and sort of, every day at the same time, kind of just figuring out a song is both things at once. It starts out, you're figuring it out, you're plunking along, you're sort of putting things together, and then it'll sort of transform. As his music often does, holds both of those things at once. Both has this incredible kind of legendary, beautiful, romantic quality, and also very intimate, personal, small, human quality, It trickles into the dirt. It trickles into all of us. It's an incredible gift.
Well said, huh?
What was your reaction to him and Lloyd duking it out in the ring in the most recent episode?
Oh yeah, it was wild.
So stressful. The thing that Taylor's done so well is set up these characters who you love and then put them at odds with each other, right? He does that over and over again. He gets you invested in John Dutton, gets you invested in Chief Rainwater, and then puts them at odds with each other, turns them against each other and makes them fight, and it's the same with Walker and Lloyd. Those are two characters. I love both of those characters. Both of those characters have been very present for Jimmy and helped Jimmy out.
Right.
They've both kind of been guides for Jimmy on this journey. And so for me, watching that shit, reading it, oh my God, because you're watching it, I knew what happened because I had already read it. But the first time I was reading it, Lloyd takes out a knife and, flicks it into Walker's chest. reading the script, my heart was pounding. I was like holding my breath because I love both of those characters. And you realize at a certain point, wow, can both of them walk away from this? Is it possible for both of these guys to coexist? What's going to happen? You know, am I going to lose? Am I going to lose my mentor, Forey J. Smith? Am I going to lose, you know, this other mentor, Ryan Bingham? Of who I'm a huge fan of his. And it's funny, the consequences of a character dying on a show are huge in real life because I've spent 4 years with both of those guys. And if one of those characters dies,
right.
they're gone. You know, that actor's gone. That actor's gone to a certain extent. You know, like as happened with Lee Dutton, played by Dave Annabelle so well in the first episode of the show. You fall in love with these characters, and we all fell in love with Dave too. Dave's the nicest, most charismatic, most generous, friendliest, funniest guy in the world. We spent a month learning how to ride horses with him, spending all this time around him, and then the character dies, and that absence is huge. You feel that. I still feel that absence. We still feel the absence of Dave on the set, you know? So losing one of those guys, it's terrifying to me. The notion of losing one of those guys who we've gotten to know so well.
One thing Taylor has done with the show is put an amazing spotlight, obviously on the community of ranching and everything out west, but the music. And I don't know if you grew up or maybe you weren't it's fine if you weren't a country fan or aren't a country fan, but the music on the show is so top notch country music. It's not the crap or the shit you hear on the radio to make it even sound more accurate. But we have a playlist that we update regularly, the largest one on Spotify with the soundtrack. And did you have an appreciation grow throughout the process of the show, or did you kind of go in already kind of understanding some of the music, or has that been a kind of a learning experience for you as well?
It's been a huge learning experience for me. You know, I'm new to this world and I'm new to the music of it too. I've always really liked folk music. I've always really liked intimate, autobiographical singer-songwriter style music, you know, since I was a kid. I've always really connected with that. And so the transition, you know, and honestly, Ryan Bingham was a huge part of it. The first time, you know, I ever spent time with Taylor out on his ranch, you know, I was learning to ride. I was figuring it out. He played Ryan's song, Hallelujah, for me. And I listened to that song sort of on repeat, just back to back to back to back for weeks. So Ryan was a huge part of, for me, that transition from always liking singer-songwriter music, you know, sort of autobiographical music. I always had an appreciation for folk music. And Ryan really helped transition that into a broader appreciation for this, I've heard the term, I don't know if this is a term you guys use, red dirt country, this kind of West Texas melancholy, sort of autobiographical, very sort of intimate and authentic. You know, it's not necessarily a celebration. And a lot of the music they use on the show has this kind of haunting, lonely, sort of melancholy quality to it that I really appreciate. And it resonates across every genre of music. You know, I grew up as a kid in Iowa, sort of weirdly obsessed with hip hop, like alt hip hop when I was a kid. I was really into Rhyme Sayers, which was a alt hip hop label out of Minneapolis. So LP, Aesop Rock. I don't know if you guys have any interest in this stuff. But I also really liked this singer-songwriter stuff. And I think the incredible quality of the music they use on the show is that it really transcends genre. You know, it transcends genre and is about these kind of very fundamental human experiences. So it's been a real gateway for me into country music, something that I had always heard but didn't quite have an appreciation for until Yellowstone.
I think for us too, as fans of a lot of these artists, it's really gratifying to see them like kind of catapulted, you know, like a song gets played, maybe people don't know. A lot of these artists are like quote unquote underdogs. They're not mainstream. So you see a song get played, it catapults even them, like their streams skyrocketed, their downloads sky. That's awesome. I think that's really cool because he's really seeking out the true talent and not just the mainstream, you know, crap you hear on the radio. So props to him on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that stuff really, I think that tailors our interest. And one of the ways in which the show, for me, the incredible gift of the music on the show particularly is they can highlight these indie artists, you know. Shows always have a certain amount of pressure to, you know, other shows that are seeking to sort of, we're so lucky that we have this huge audience. We have this huge movie star. We have a lot of A-list actors on the show, you know, bringing in initial viewers, and then people have stuck around and gotten to know the show. And now Taylor's using that platform to really give these opportunities to indie artists, basically. Yeah. And I talked to, as part of the podcast, I talked to the music supervisor of the show, Andrea von Forrester, and she talked about, finding artists who don't have email addresses, finding artists who, she talked about finding artists who were, active duty military and setting them up with recording equipment to record their music for the sake of the show. I think there's been a number of times that she's set up professional recording situations for artists because she loved their music and they hadn't had access to that kind of professional infrastructure before. And that just really speaks, I think, to the incredible opportunity the show has had to platform these artists who are early in their careers. I misspoke earlier when I said there's rhyme sayers and there's definitive jux, def jux. And I think that maybe LP and Aesop Rock were both on Def Jux, and then like Atmosphere was on Rhyme Sayers. It's all, we can get into the like.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up with that burnt CD. For me, it was like I had like 50 Cent, Eminem, and then Brooks and Dunn, and then Nelly, and then there was Clint Black, and then so it was a mix of hip hop and country for me when I got my driver's license.
Yeah.
Do you know Run the Jewels?
Yeah.
That's Killer Mike and LP. And LP is a sort of incredible indie hip hop producer from the mid aughts, basically. Def Jux, Definitive Jux. He's a sort of long standing, one of those kind of behind the scenes gurus of indie hip hop for years and years and years. So I've been a huge fan of his since I was in high school. And, it's funny how certain qualities of music really transcend genre. LP's solo stuff always had this incredible melancholy to it that I really connected to as like a lonely kid in Iowa. And that's absolutely the same of Ryan Bingham's music, or of a lot of the music, Coulter Wall, a lot of the like incredible artists on the show. There's a kind of transcendent quality that defies genre. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. I think actually, Andrea and Taylor connected Zach Bryan with Dave Cobb, who's a wonderful producer in the country world. And Zach's a phenomenal rising star, was in the Navy at the time. And they recut a song for the show because they were like, it's a little bare bones. This guy's recording in a bedroom somewhere, like behind a mattress. Like, let's connect him with a producer. And then, now Zach's out of the military. He's doing full-time touring, selling out 5,000-10,000 showrooms. And probably Dave will probably end up producing his first like studio produced record. So it's like a cool like way to see kind of all these worlds come together.
Yeah, that's the incredible ear and eye that Taylor has too, because he's done the same thing with casting actors. There's a lot of actors on our show who are brilliant, who have been doing this shit for a long time, who have earned, exactly as you're describing, who have really earned it, but have just never gotten the opportunity. Someone like Forey J. Smith has a long fucking cool career, has a long sort of storied career. He's worked so hard his whole life. And then a show like this brings him to a wider audience in a way that he's deserved for a long, long time,
Yeah.
And I just think that's an incredible gift of Taylor's too. He has he has such an eye for these people who have worked so hard for so long, and rewarding that and sort of bringing those talents to all of us, And then he also occasionally, takes a dumbass like me and duct tapes me to a horse.
Speaking of some of the cast, you mentioned Kevin Costner, obviously. Is he as cool, like, as you would think? Because I just see Kevin Costner. I was like, I can't imagine how cool this guy is, but how would you describe him? I know you said you're terrified and excited every time you talk to him. You can learn a lot from him, but kind of the mystique of a Kevin Costner. There's so many movies over so many decades.
He's incredible. Yeah. So he's in a position with a lot of pressure on him. He's the number one of our show. He's the face of our show. He's playing a character who is a leader with a tremendous amount of pressure on him. John Dutton, is just sort of orchestrating all these incredibly complicated maneuvers. He's the man at the head of this like big sort of empire. And that's, in practical terms, Kevin has some of those pressures on him in real life too, right? Like everybody's sort of looking to Kevin. He has to carry a tremendous amount of weight, and he carries it with such ease and such sort of humility and like, Yeah, he's a leader in every sense of the word. He has an incredible amount of pressure on him, and it does not deter him from being an incredibly kind, generous, thoughtful actor. You know, he really, I've learned so much from him as an actor. Any moment where I get impatient or I sort of am having a hard time or I'm tired or worn out, I'm like, oh my God, like imagine the pressure on Kevin. Imagine the hours Kevin is working and he still navigates it with so much grace and ease. And, you know, I think in a lot of ways, tension is the enemy of art. You know, tension, fear, scarcity, these things are like the enemy of art. You get tense, you're not able to sort of, same with music, right? Yeah. You get tense, you get nervous, you freeze up, you're not able to sort of, you know, do what you need to do, you know, to do this kind of intimate work, to do this kind of work that is very personal. You have to sort of be able to find a sense of ease. And it's amazing to me that someone like Kevin can find that sense of ease with so much pressure on him. But he's been doing it flawlessly, flawlessly, with incredible sort of ability for 35, 40 years. That's unreal. That's something we all, to a certain extent, aspire to, both the ability, but also the longevity, to be able to carry that weight for 40 years and still be a nice guy. Oh my God. If anybody had the right to be an asshole, that's what I always think about these actors. It's like, man, if anybody's earned the right to be an asshole, it's Kevin.
Yeah.
And he won't do it.
Well, you mentioned being worn out. And I think kind of a cool thing for fans that may not know what it's like filming is kind of explain to them, like, a couple questions. What's like a typical day for you, like when it comes to, you guys are right in the middle of filming and you're doing it every day. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a lot of stunt doubles there, right? You guys are doing it. You guys are learning how to do these things. Were there a lot of injuries? Were there some scares? I imagine this physically, aside from just being tired, the physical aspect of this show probably is a little bit different than you're used to.
Just being in a saddle can be hard if you're not used to it.
Absolutely. That's the kind of thing that your body should have formed to, in my case, 25 years ago, and didn't. So I've been paying for it ever since. I would say in both of those instances, actors, we work long days, you know, often 12-hour days. You know, we'll have a 6, you know, you're kind of chasing the light most of the time. So if you're shooting outdoor scenes in the daytime, that gives you a certain window, you know. Did you guys lose me for a second there?
No, you're good.
No,
you're
you
good.
Still got me. Oh, great. So, you know, you're chasing daylight a lot of times. You're sort of doing a scene either overnight in the dark hours or daylight during the light hours. But in both of those cases, our crew works a lot harder than we do. A lot of the shit that we're pretending to do, they're doing for real. They're schlepping, you know, a 50-pound camera across fields on foot. They're working, if we're working a 12-hour day, our crew is often working a 14-hour day, a 15-hour day, a 16-hour day. They're there before us and they leave after us. And, you know, we've been learning. We're a bunch of actors who've been working our fucking asses off to catch up, to try to earn our place in this culture, to try to earn our place in this community. But we have stunt performers who take incredibly good care of us. So all of us, you know, we aspire to do as much of it as we can ourselves. But there's a lot of guys who've been with us from the very beginning who step in to make sure we're safe and step in when it's some real cowboy shit. You know, we do as much as we can. But Bobby Roberts, my stunt double, is a real life rodeo cowboy who's been playing Jimmy as long as I have. So he's done all of Jimmy's bucking sequences over the course of 4 years. And these guys are incredible. Anytime an actor complains too long, you got to go talk to a first AC or a second AC in the camera crew whose job it is to fucking schlep that camera around. You got to go talk to the grip team. You got to go talk to the electric team. You got to go talk to these horse trainers and these stunt riders. You know, we have the best stunt team in the world, basically. Our stunt coordinator, Jason Rodriguez, J-Rod, has such an incredibly diverse skill set. He, you know, we're talking about in Yellowstone, there's so many different disciplines of stunt performance. There is driving. There's a lot of guns and gunfire. There's horse stuff, which is, these are all kind of lifelong pursuits. And our stunt team does it all. We have the most amazing Jordan Warwick, Mark Warwick, J-Rod, Ethan Lee. You know, these guys do it all. And it's really remarkable. You know, so yeah, we work hard. I'm trying to earn It's the same thing. I'm trying to earn my place alongside these guys. I'm fighting like hell to live up to what they're capable of and live up to earn their, trust to a certain extent. But we tap out all the time. Tap out or someone taps us out. if we start getting a little too big for our britches and we think we're going to do something ourselves, they'll tap us out and say, hey, let me take care of this for you.
Jimmy, he's down in Texas now on the legendary 4.6s ranch. Are you shooting that down in Texas? And also, it's been kind of reported that there's a spinoff in the works, that you're maybe setting the table for a spinoff series focused on the 4.6s. Is there any truth to that? And will you be starring as Jimmy? I've also heard that Ryan might be in there as Walker as well. Can you speak to any of those things kind of on the stove?
Yeah, so we filmed those 4.6s sequences down at the 4.6s, which is a real life, huge working cattle ranch and sort of legendary horse training and horse breeding and, this facility down there. This one of the biggest in the country, one of the oldest in the country, kind of a legendary real life cattle ranch and horse training facility. And that was incredible. Like after having spent 4 years on the Yellowstone, which is, a fictional ranch with a lot of reality kind of mixed in. It's we film it up at this place called the Chief Joseph Ranch in Western Montana. It's a sort of fictional, massive cattle ranch. It was a real eye opener to go down to the 6s, which is a real life, incredible sort of Goliath cattle ranch, and to meet those real cowboys, so on Yellowstone, you got a bunch of us who are pretending to work for the ranch, pretending to be cowboys and going down there and meeting the guys who really work at the 6s was truly a wild experience and so much learning so fast, learning from guys who really have been doing this their entire lives, really living this authentic life their entire lives. So that was an incredible gift. As far as the spinoff goes, I don't think you'll be surprised that I, Jeff, Jimmy, never have any idea what the fuck is going on. And anytime I think I do, Taylor does something better and cooler than I ever could have imagined. So all I can say is that I hope, I'm incredibly grateful for the work we've gotten to do so far. I'm incredibly proud of the work we've gotten to do so far. All I can say as an actor is job security is very rare. It's very precious. And I hope that I want to play this character as long as they'll let me. And we'll find out together how much longer that is.
Nice.
We'll all find out together how much longer that is. Anytime I think I know what's best for this character or for this world, Taylor proves me wrong. He knows better than any of us.
Yeah, I imagine there are times where you might read the script and be like, God damn it. Like, why do I I betrayed John, damn it.
I know. Well, Jimmy always winds up, motionless on the ground.
Right.
And every time I read one of those, I'm like, well, there goes the best job of my life. There goes the best job I ever had. Fucking dumbass.
Last couple of things here, and thanks again for your time. It's been awesome. What should we expect, without any spoilers, of course, the rest of this season, because is getting pretty wild. And then just to recap your podcast, the Yellowstone Companion podcast, what fans should expect from that once that kicks off?
Yeah, so the rest of this season, some of the themes we've been talking about the kind of mythic quality of the West, the romantic sort of high of the West, and then on the other side, the sort of brutal underside of that, the violence and the kind of dark side of the West. The rest of the season is jam-packed with both of those extremes, and it's really spectacular. I can't wait to watch it. I've read it all. I haven't seen any of it, so I can't wait to watch the rest of it because the scripts were truly the best scripts we've had in 4 years. Taylor just keeps getting better and better and better, and the story just keeps getting better and better and better. And the podcast, the Yellowstone Official Podcast, honestly, for me, what has been so surprising and exciting about it has been the opportunity to talk to folks who you only know in one light and learn about them across a million other dimensions, because I think it really enriches the experience of watching the show. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of what we wanted to do with the podcast was give people a way to dive deeper into the world of the show, dive deeper into the sort of mythos of the West. And it really, it's been such a treat to do just that, to kind of continue to kind of build out and enrich the world of the show and the culture that surrounds the show. And so for me, that's what working on the podcast has done that for me. You know, I have so much more appreciation for what I'm seeing on screen now because of the conversations I've had with the artists and the cowboys who make it all happen.
Is there a specific episode of the podcast or a guest that you're really excited for fans to hear?
I mean, so Jimmy's never shared the screen with Beth, probably luckily for Jimmy. I don't think that would go well for our idiot Jimmy.
Our lovable idiot.
Our lovable idiot, our stupid nephew Jimmy. But getting to talk to Kelly Riley was an incredible gift. She's an artist who I've loved her work on the show and her work beyond the show for years. But, you know, because we never are on screen together, I haven't had many opportunities to really talk to her about her creative process. And so that was an incredible gift to me. And then same goes for Cole Hauser. I've been learning from observation from Cole for years, and from his whole body of work, I've been learning from him. And yeah, same goes for Wes Bentley, who plays Jamie. I mean, getting to talk to him about his process. Jimmy and Jamie have been together on screen for about 6 seconds. Yeah. But getting to learn from Wes about his process for playing such a complicated character, it's such a fearless performance in that he's sometimes so contemptible, sometimes so pitiable, so lovable, so kind of himself courageous and fearless. That's been an incredible gift. So getting to talk to those actors as an acting nerd has been an incredible gift. And then also getting to talk to Jake Ream, to Forey J. Smith, to Bobby Roberts about cowboying, about rodeoing, about ranching. That was also remarkable, because I've sort of been pretending to do this and learning what I can for 4 years, and getting to sit down in a really concentrated way and learn from those guys is a once in a lifetime opportunity. How often do you get to ask a cattle rancher how it all works? You know, how often do you get to ask a rodeo cowboy how it all works? That's a tremendous gift.
Are you wearing your boots around Brooklyn now?
Oh, yeah. Once you get used to the extra height, it's hard to give up. You know what I mean? Once you get used to the extra height, I don't want to go back.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jefferson, this has been amazing. You're my new favorite actor. We can't wait to watch the rest of the season of Yellowstone, the podcast, and it's going to be really exciting to watch your career, because Jimmy's turned into a really interesting character. And talking to you, you're our first actor we've ever had on the podcast, so we're really thrilled about that. And you do talk to Tim McGraw though, right? On the podcast, right?
I can't wait. Is there anything you want me to ask him?
I don't know. Don't work out with him. I don't know if you know about his workout regimen.
He's a monster, dude.
He works out in the parking lot of
Everyone on Yellowstone is a monster, dude. Have you seen Taylor Sheridan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's a big dude.
He's a big guy, man. Everybody on the show, very unrealistic depiction of men's bodies.
Right. Cowboy muscles.
Yeah.
Cowboy muscles. I appreciate y'all so much. And thank you so much for kind of teaching me about the music of the show. You know, it's been such a gift to listen to you guys and learn about all of that stuff. That's a world I'm also really new to. So I so appreciate what you guys are doing. And I so appreciate you giving me the time to come on here and blab. So as a fan of your podcast, thank you so much for this.
Well, that means a lot. Yeah. We really appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jefferson. A lot of fun.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers. You too.